All right, all right. Good day, all. Good evening. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, America's #1 dispatcher and freight broker training. Today is Wednesday, the 25th. I'm looking at my calendar, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is our um, Wednesday edition of our Zoom training for dispatchers. If you see our calendar here for the month of February, today is the 25th. We train live Zoom calls every second and fourth week of each month, 3 days in those weeks. Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, and Saturdays at 12 noon Eastern. For those who are going to be joined in our 90-day course, sometimes we allow guests in, like we have tonight. I was speaking on the phone to a few people and extended an invitation to come in as guests to kind of get a feel of what we do, what we discuss, what we speak about when it comes to being a freight dispatcher. Okay. Um, some people may have an understanding or an overview of what being a freight dispatcher is or maybe. Can someone tell me, matter of fact, someone who's a guest, what your idea of what a freight dispatcher is? Give me an idea. Someone who's a guest, not a student, but someone who may be on a guest. Want to see what your understanding of being a freight dispatcher is. Anyone would like to take that task on? No? No one wants to take that task on, answering that question of what a freight dispatcher is? Okay, well, I will answer it for you. Well, maybe let me ask one of the students. Any of the students, what do you think being a freight, this is a high level overview. What is a freight dispatcher? What is the person and what do they do? If you can unmute yourself or type it in the chat, that would be great. Let me highlight. Hey, Jacqueline. Jacqueline's here. So,
Hello.
yes, key drill.
Yes. I think a freight dispatcher is somebody who find loads and dispute them out to drivers.
Okay, so now I'm gonna pretend to be of someone who does not have any understanding of transportation, of dispatching,
Mhm.
of trucking, of carrying. So you mentioned some terms. You said someone who find loads. What's a load? Help me understand
Um,
what that is.
um, Material items, anything that can be transported,
And where do I get these loads from? Like,
probably from from companies.
okay. And as a freight dispatcher, so I'm gonna pretend to be a new person. As a freight dispatcher, how do I get the loads from the companies? Who do I go through, or what do I, you know?
That was a good question there.
Okay, there
Uh,
we go. All right,
either
go ahead, Marquell. Marquell, you biting at
uh,
you chopping at the bits, ain't you?
so either a broker, typically, that's how the arrangement is made, or some advanced independent dispatchers, they know how to source their freight from direct shippers.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring my whiteboard up and do some visuals on my whiteboard to share with you guys as well before I call my carrier. Um, okay, so and can you see the whiteboard?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we said, and I'm going to change the letters. Okay. So we said I'll just say dispatcher still. When I say dispatcher, I'm meaning freight dispatcher in transportation because there's other types of dispatchers like 911 emergency dispatchers and things like that. But when I say dispatchers, I just remember I'm referring to freight dispatchers in the industry of transportation and logistics. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we said a dispatcher, the purpose and job of that person is to uh, find loads, right? And when you find the loads, what do you do to the loads? You give them
To
to
carry.
carriers, right? Now, there's other words for carriers, right? You could say carriers, you could say own operators, you can say truck drivers, right? Truckers, truck drivers, right? It's pretty much almost the same thing. I can break those down thoroughly, but you guys get what these are, right? Or do I need to break them down a little bit further for you, right? So a carrier is a trucking company, right, with multiple assets or multiple trucks. Let's say three or more. That's a fleet, a small fleet, right? That's when we
Mm-hmm.
say carrier, that's what we mean when we say carrier, right? So if you give it to a carrier, you're trying to dispatch for their fleet, three or better trucks, right? And trucks are also called assets. And assets provide what's called capacity, okay? So that's the carriers. An owner operator is someone who owns the truck and trailer and also operates it. So they are a one-man team. One truck, one trailer. That's an owner operator. Now, the owner operators, can they have more than one truck and trailers? Of course they can. They're an owner operator now with a fleet, right? And then truckers can be drivers for those owner operators or those carriers. They can be company drivers, all right? But when I use these words loosely, what I'm referring to is just the person who you'll be dispatching for, whether they're owner operator, carrier, truck driver, whoever, right? So, did everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
a dispatcher finds loads, and we're going to get into the keywords, gives them to the carriers, right? And then you make your money from that, right? So now let's break those down. Let's break this down. How dispatchers find loads? How is that done? Right? Give them to the carriers. How is that done? And make the money. How is that done? These are the key points that you would want to understand if you are to be a successful independent freight dispatcher, right? So, and before I even get into these how things, you would want to create your company with um, your business,
Your business.
right? You would want to let me mute these guys because it's an echo. You want to create your business first, right? Before you could be an independent freight dispatcher and finding loads for carriers to make your money, you have to have a business set up. You have to have a company name, LLC, EIN, um, and it's preferred for you to do that. That's the order, and then a business bank account so you can operate as a legitimate company, right? You don't want to go into this um, incorrectly, right? You want to go into it the right way. There's a certain decency and order about doing certain things, right? Whether it's in life or in freight dispatching, it's the same concept, right? So, how do you find loads as a freight dispatcher? Well, there are tools out here that we use to find loads. The main tool that you'll be using as a beginner freight dispatcher, and let me show you what that is. Let's go back to our um, here. The main tool you'll be using to find a load for or some freight or cargo, whatever you want to call it, to put on the trailer of your carrier's equipment is called a load board. Okay, it's called a load board. All right. So a load board is online software. Let me go back to the whiteboard when I say that because I want to make sure that you guys are, if you are taking notes, then that would be a good thing, right? So I want to make sure that you're doing that as well. So load board or load boards, right? These are online software that shippers or customers and individuals who call themselves freight brokers post those loads for sale for the truck drivers to decide which ones to take and make their money. That's what a load board is. Is digital software, online software. If you've never heard this term before, and I'm going to show you a visual of what it looks like and how to use it. Okay. Um, a load board for new dispatch services is where you would typically start and flourish when you're finding loads for your truck drivers once you get a truck driver to dispatch for. Does everybody understand what I just said? Okay. So now let's go to an example of that load board. So we have some load boards who have been classified as the top load boards in the industry. I'm going to list the top three. The number one, and they're not based on pricing or the factor that for which they get their ranking from is based on the number of loads that they post on the board. The features and the price points and all that stuff does not determine the ranking. So, okay. So the number one load board as far as frequency of freight is called DAT, DAT. Okay. D as in David, A as in Apple, T as in Tom. Stands for dial a truck. That's what it stands for. So if I see some of you guys taking notes, so I'll talk a little bit slower so that you can take the notes. Okay. So dial that everybody says that, but no one actually understands what does it stand for. Dial a truck. That's what it stands for. That. There's different versions of the load boards. Like that has a different version, and there's different price points for those versions, right? There's a carrier version of the load boards, and there are freight broker versions of the load boards. You, as an independent freight dispatcher, will be focusing on the carrier or truck driver's version of the load board because, as a dispatcher, first of all, you're not going to be able to have access to the broker version of a load board because you don't have a broker authority. You don't have a broker's authority to be able to access and pay for a subscription to the broker version of any load board. You don't have a carrier authority as an independent dispatcher to access the carrier version of a load board. But what you do have is your carrier's authority for which you're dispatching for. They will let you use their MC number if you want to purchase a subscription to a load board to be able to find them good paying loads. A broker won't do that. Brokers will not give dispatchers access to their MC to access the load boards. Okay. So the carrier version of a load board, the purpose of you, the dispatcher, having access to that one is to search for and find loads or to be able to post your carrier's truck as being empty and available for a load so that brokers can see that and call them. You see? So you search, and let me show you what an example of a load board looks like. Okay, let's go to, before I do that, that was number one. Truck stop, or what used to be called internet truck stop, number two. And the one I'm going to show you now is called 123 load board. Carlos, you got your hand up.
Yes, I got a question. Can you purchase or can you get your own MC number for you to have your own load board by asking permission from a truck driver?
Great question. And so the Exodus Logistics Learning Center. Well, first of all, before I go into that, let me say this. Dispatchers do not have or cannot get an authority. If you decide to go to the FMCSA's website and apply for an operating authority, you would have to do so either as a motor carrier or a freight broker. Once you do that, you're no longer a dispatcher. Now you are acting under as a motor carrier or a freight broker. Okay. So the question becomes, well, man, how do I get access to a load board without having an MC number? I'm glad you asked that question, Carlos. 123 load board, 3 years ago, our company, the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, partnered with Lauren Metzen, the gentleman you see on the screen right now, who is the owner, the CEO, and the president of the company. we did a video. Myself, him, and his technical team, and they decided to allow dispatchers to access 30 days for free their load board. After 30 days, they can decide to purchase one of the 3 versions that they have, basic, premium, and premium plus, without being required to having an MC authority. But in order to do that, you would have to click, I have an affiliate link in our portal that you can use to get the 30 days for free. And then after using it for 30 days, you get the, use the bells and whistles of it and decide if you want to purchase a subscription without being required to have an MC, right? Don't believe me? Let's go and show you, right? So under services, affiliates, and partners, 123 load board promo right here. So this is the promo offer, load board. Get your own subscription to a 123 load board without having an MC and DOT. And I did do a video with them. I thought I had a video in here, but I may have taken it out with Lauren and his team. It may be in the back office. Let me see if it's in the back office. Tools and resources, load boards. Let's go to module 2. Let's go to load boards and load board promo. Here it is right here. So just to show you, because I like to show you but not tell you, right? I'm a person, I don't like to cap. I got a cap on, but I don't like to cap, right? For those of you who know what capping means, right? It means lying, right? So no cap. So in our portal here, and this was under the load board in module 2. So those of you who are students, you have access to this back office. Those of you who are guests, you're just seeing it. But I still wanted to show it to you. So this video right here, you click the link, watch this video promo right there. Let me mute it, but you'll still hear him talking. That's me. That's my screenshot. These 2 gentlemen are Lauren's friends, or not friends, but technical people, because I was answering questions for them. This is Lauren, the president of 123 Load Board. If you notice the YouTube video, look at the date, March 3rd, 2022, almost 4 years ago, that this company and that company, which is one of the third largest load board in the country, partnered up. Let me shut up for a minute and here you guys can hear this.
Years we focused on brokers and carriers. Over the last few years, of course, we've transitioned to, give the ability to dispatchers to use us, as dispatching now, not just through COVID, but a year or 2 before COVID, has become really an easy entry for somebody to become a dispatcher. They don't have to get their bond, become a broker, and so forth. So I just want to understand from you in really about a minute or so, what do dispatchers do, in terms of documentation? Do they onboard on behalf of the carrier with the broker? Do they, do they sign the rate confirmations? All that flow, if you can just let us know in a little rundown what they in fact do.
So if you have a carrier or a trucking company that has a dispatcher that they've hired to work for them, then yes, they do those things for that carrier. When they call the brokers on the loads, they will book the loads for the carriers on behalf of the carriers through the brokers. They have the carrier's MC number, getting the information from the broker carrier agreement, doing that, managing the trucks for the carriers or the owner ops, if you will. So yeah, everything that you just mentioned, yes, dispatchers are involved in that. They do the day-to-day for the carriers, keep them running while the carriers are focusing on driving. The dispatchers are focusing on finding their next loads. So
Understood. So does the dispatcher have like a power of attorney, or do they have a contract whereby I can accept that rate on behalf of the carrier?
That's correct. So there's a dispatcher agreement, which is the contract between the carrier. So what we do is we offer what's called a dispatcher packet. It contains. So as he talk and say certain things, I'm going to show you what he's talking about. Okay. He mentioned, well, first of all, I explained what dispatchers do, right? We get carriers under an agreement. So in order for you to dispatch for anyone, a truck driver, owner, operator, you have to have some kind of contract with them. an agreement, right? A dispatcher, we call that our dispatcher packet, right? So let me go to our screen, dispatcher packet. Our dispatcher packet in our portal, main menu portal, under forms and documents, okay? And everything that the guests are seeing, if you decide to join, you will have access to this stuff, right? It's free. That's all the students, they'll tell you, okay? There's so much information in here, I literally forgot what's back here, right? But the dispatcher packet for a freight dispatcher contains 3 documents that you need to be a freight dispatcher. The first one is the dispatcher agreement, the actual contract. And what does that look like? Here we go. Here is what the dispatcher agreement look like. And these are templates, right? This is a template that you can create. You can take our template and formulate it for your dispatch service, right? This is just a generalized template to get you started, right? And it's a simple agreement, 2 pages. How hard is that, right? And you can tweak this for your company as you see fit, right? Nothing hard about that. And if you have questions, I've done several videos, and I usually do it on the lives. I'll open up a Word document and use someone as an example's company, and then start typing in their information and showing you where to put what, where, why it's there, what reasons for it, things like that. So, because I want you to understand what you're getting into before you get into it, right? So the dispatcher agreement is the contract that fuses the union between the dispatcher and the truck driver. It says, hey, I'm the dispatcher, I provide these services. Hey, I'm the truck driver, I want your services. Let's come to terms. What are we agreeing on? What's your price? What are you going to be doing as a dispatcher? And it's all in here. The verbiage is in here. Now, if you want, I can go through line by line so you can kind of understand if you have questions, but I want to, keep moving, but if someone wants me to go through it, I will. I have no problem with that. I do it every time, right? But the number one document in the dispatcher packet, which is 3 documents, dispatcher agreement. Okay, that's the one that fuses the contract between you and that. It makes you guys legally binding. That is a contract. Okay. The number 2 document is the carrier profile, the truck driver profile, the owner operator profile, whatever you want to call it, right? What this is the carrier's requirements of you, the dispatcher. Hey, I don't want to put too much weight on my trailer. Hey, I want $2 a mile. Hey, I only want to go to this part of the country. I don't want to go over here, right? They're giving you certain requirements, and then you're looking for the loads on the load boards. Remember that word, load boards? According to the requirements of the carrier, and which you got from the profile. Okay. So they're giving you the information. You just got to find it up for them, right? So everything is lining up for you, right? You just got to understand how to put the pieces together and, move with that, right? So here's what the profile looks like, what type of equipment they have. Here's their address, general stuff they asked, just typical stuff that you would ask a carrier in order for you to be a more efficient and effective dispatcher. So you would want to ask certain questions, right? And depending on their equipment type, whether they're driving a dry van, a flatbed, or a reefer, or any other box truck, hot shot, sprinter van, cargo van, bicycle, horse and carriage, right? So it don't matter. You want to get their requirements because your job as a dispatcher is to find a load for them for their equipment type according to their requirements. That's how you get paid, right? You have a job to do it. But you have to understand what the job is. And you have to understand the requirements of the job, right? So that's document number 2. Document number 1 was the dispatcher agreement, the contract. Document number 2 was the carrier profile, which is the requirements of the carriers. Document number 3, he mentioned it, limited power of attorney. Limited power of attorney. The purpose of the limited power of attorney. This document needs to be notarized by the carrier, not the dispatcher. The carrier has to have the document notarized. The purpose of the limited power of attorney is the carrier gives the dispatcher the right and the consent to represent them in matters of dispatching for them. What do I mean by that? When you're booking a load for a carrier and you're talking to the broker to book the load, sometimes you need to fill out information to be able to on board or get your carrier set up with specific brokers, because your carrier's MC number may not be an MC number already in that system for that brokerage. So they have to get set up or approved, and you have to fill out what's called a broker carrier agreement. And then also, once that happens, there's another piece of document that's called the rate confirmation. The purpose of the rate or the load confirmation is when you book that specific load, the rate shows what it's going to pay and what are the specific requirements and special instructions on the load, which is on the rate confirmation. So you sign that on behalf of the carrier. You don't sign your name, the dispatcher's name. You sign and print the carrier's name. So the purpose of the limited power of attorney is the legal notarized document giving you authorization to do that. Otherwise, it's forgery. Okay? So a limited power of attorney, the carrier has willingly and done it through notarization through a notary public. Here's our template. It's already designed to have it notarized, stamped, and sealed and everything. They're saying, hey, I am giving the dispatcher permission to represent me by signing my name and printing my name on these documents I need in order to book freight and make money and make a living for myself. Okay. Let me stop here and ask, are there any questions at this point? No. Tanika, you good? Kedrio, you good? Okay. So as a new independent freight dispatcher, a beginner dispatcher, these three documents that make up the dispatcher packet are important for you to have in your dispatch service, in your back office as a company, because you're going to apply them for every carrier that you dispatch for. Every carrier you dispatch for has to have a dispatcher agreement, carrier profile, and limited power of attorney. There's no negotiating that, right? In addition to that, there are other documents, but I don't want to get too far gone, right? But I was going to talk about the load board. I went to the video with the owner of the company, but the load board, 123 load board here, and that's the guy that was talking in the video, Lauren Metzen, right? So I like to show people that I hate capping, right? But I like to show people. So here is an example of a load board. This is his load board. It's the top three, one of the top three load boards in the country. Okay. So how do you navigate this? What is this software? What does all this stuff mean? Dashboard announcement. What is this stuff? Ugh. What is all this stuff? You first see it your first time, you be like, man, this is crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. Right? So let me take you on a tour. Let me show you. When you get a truck driver, carrier, right? Let's say I'm gonna pretend to be a truck driver, and I'm gonna say I'm based in Norfolk, Virginia, right? That's what I'm gonna say for an example. And I want you guys to be my dispatchers, all you guys, class participation, for example. I'm based in Norfolk, Virginia. I need you to find me a load. I have my equipment type is a dry van. I have a 53-foot dry van trailer with a tractor attached to it. I'm a dry van owner operator. Okay. One man team, right? I want to find loads. I want to make at least $2 a mile. I'll go anywhere. You'll get a carrier that may say that I'll go anywhere. Some carriers say I don't want to go to Florida because I'm going into Florida, but it's hard to get out. Most carriers and carriers will educate you when you meet carriers, especially those experienced carriers who still look for dispatchers. They'll educate you by telling you certain areas they don't want to go into and why. So that'll help your dispatch service. Okay. But for example, here's a load board, right? And let me see if you guys are paying attention. What kind of carrier I said I was? What kind of equipment did I say I had? What kind of equipment that I just said I had as this example? Somebody type something in the chat. Let me see. 53 foot.
53. drive in.
Drive. Very good. How much did I say I wanted rate per mile or cents per mile? How much did I say I wanted to make?
At least $2.
At least $2 per mile, right? What did I say I wanted to go?
Anywhere but
Any,
Florida.
anywhere but Florida. Okay, very good. So we go on the load board. This load board over here on the side, left-hand column, go under loads and say find loads. Now there's other features on this load board you'll learn over time, but just getting to the point of finding a load, I'm going to clear this one, clear the search. So now we start from fresh. So create a new search. And where did I say I was based out of?
Norfolk, Virginia.
As you type it in, it'll autofill, and you just click the one that goes with you. So the top one is Norfolk. Radius, let me explain what radius means for those who may not know. Radius, or what's called deadhead, okay? That is the distance that a carrier is willing to drive from their current location, or what we call 20, to a pickup location for a load, which is usually at a shipping facility, customer. So how far they willing to drive empty from where they are to pick up a load. The deadhead or radius going rate today is 100 miles. Okay. Does everybody understand what radius and deadhead mean now? How far I'm willing to drive empty from where I'm at to go pick up a load that you may have found for me as my dispatcher. That's what that means, deadhead or radius. Okay. And the reason why is that number because you're driving empty, but yet you're still burning diesel fuel. You still got to compensate and mitigate for that fuel cost, right? And dispatchers might want to keep that in mind too. So the smaller your radius, the less load you're going to find. Does this make sense? The broader your radius, the more load you're going to see. Is everybody understanding that? Right?
Yes, sir.
So 50 miles may only show you 10 loads. 100 miles may show you 25 or 30, 150, 200, so on and so forth. You get the point, right? So I said I'll go anywhere, so I'm gonna X out this and choose anywhere. So Norfolk for anywhere. I'm gonna leave pickup date as any just for this example. My available capacity or my truck type is, what did I say I was? What was my equipment type?
53-foot drive-in.
Or drive-in, right? So we're gonna say a van right there.
Mr.
Okay.
Mundy,
Yes.
are you going to keep the radius at 50 miles?
When I go back and I'm gonna apply this and I'll change it back to 100.
Okay.
Good catch. Okay. And the equipment type is a dry van. All right. I'm getting people texting me as a training. Here's under more filters. I'm going to hit the drop down and select the load size. So you got different options for the size of the load. The load means what goes into my 53-foot trailer. Is it TL or LTL? What does that mean? TL means truckload. That means the trailer is full with freight. LTL means less than truckload. Okay. I'm gonna say any because I wanna have the option of whether I want to take an LTL or a truckload. It's gonna give me more options. If I just say TL, it's only gonna give me truckloads. If I say LTL, it's only gonna give me the result set is only gonna give me LTLs. But if I say any, it's gonna give me what? Both. More options, basically, right? So I'm gonna select any length, 53-foot trailer. That's the length of my trailer. So it only goes up to 53 feet. So you just say any, but I'll say 53 feet. And do I want to exclude loads without the length? What does this mean? Exclude loads without length. What that means is exclude loads that the brokers posted that they didn't post the length of the trailer that they want the load on. I'm gonna leave that unchecked. Because if you do come across a load, but it doesn't show the length of the trailer, all you have to do if you're interested in that load is just call the broker and ask them, hey, is this going on a 53-foot trailer? And they'll tell you. They got to tell you because you want to make sure that your equipment type matches the load. Okay? What about the weight? Any weight. Now, I didn't tell you my weight requirements, my carrier profile weight requirements. I have a dry van trailer in Norfolk, Virginia. I want to keep my weight. So the maximum weight that a dry van can hold is between 42 and 45,000 pounds. Okay. I'm going to say I want to keep mine under 40,000, like at 38,000. I put that in the carrier profile. So if I told you that in the carrier profile, then all you got to do is just drag this bar over to 38,000. Or let's just say 40,000. Okay. So you can update and edit the filters when you're doing the search. And then when you hit search, it's going to give you. And then do you want to exclude loads without the weight? No, I don't. I want to have loads that have the weight posted by the brokers as well as those that do not. If I see a load that pays well, but that doesn't have the weight posted, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask the broker how much is the weight so I can make sure that it falls within my carrier's requirements. Just because you see on the load board a broker's posted load doesn't have certain details on the load, you can still ask the broker that question so you can get that question answered before you decide to book that load. You don't want to book a load that your carrier is unable to accomplish. So you want to make sure that you fill in all the blanks according to your carrier profile. That's called dispatching, guys. That's what that's called, right? So let's hit search. And now we get the result set of our filters. We put out all the filters we put in, and here are all the results of the loads that we got. Okay. Now, one of the first things I do on a load board, because there's different ways to look at this result set. Okay. You can view it. You can do a list view, which is what we're looking at now. You can do a card view. You hit card, it gives you a card view like this. I don't like this view. I like the list view better because I get more. Or you can do a map view. You can look at it as a map. I don't like the map either, right? Although it's okay, but I prefer the list view because I see more right here, okay? But you can filter stuff, right? You can filter it by deadhead miles. You can filter by any of these filters right here, the rate, the age of the load, things like that, okay?
Question.
Yes.
Um, those filters, what would you suggest to apply to get the best results?
Well, if you're dispatching for a carrier who is real hung up about making money and the rate, then you would filter it by rate. You would hit rate, and now it's going to filter it by the highest paying loads down to the lowest paying loads right here. Rate. Now, notice on this load board, you see two columns, rate and rate check. What's the difference? Rate is, and before I get into that, let me do one line, one load that's posted by one. So right here, I'll explain each column. So posted right here, and I'm going to use the first one as an example. Okay, posted is how long has this load been on this load board posted? This one is 5H. What is 5H? 5 hours. Okay, it hasn't been renewed yet. They haven't refreshed it. Pickup is when the load picks up. What's the pickup date? March 2nd. It picks up March 2nd. Pickup location is usually the shipping location. It's in Washington, North Carolina, which is 99 miles from where?
Virginia,
Where in Virginia? What city did I put in as a beginning point? Right here.
Norfolk.
Norfolk. So it's within the 100-mile deadhead radius, right? 99, that's a mile less than 100, right? So it's within our deadhead radius. And it's getting dropped off at Wichita Falls, Texas, which is 1,432 miles. So from North Carolina, Washington, North Carolina to Wichita Falls, Texas is a 1,432-mile trip. But you have to also factor in that 99-mile drive from Norfolk to there. So you would add that in there. So that's the total, like over 1,500 miles, about 1,525, 1,530, because you add the deadhead plus that. But let's just keep it on the trip miles. Okay. The rate is what the broker posted. This one that's green, the rate column, is what that broker posted it for. The broker, who's the broker? Under what says company, the column that says company, ARL Transport LLC. So under companies, usually is, and 90% of the time it's going to be a broker. 10% of the time it may be a direct shipper, a direct customer, but most of the time it's a broker that posts a load. And how will you know that? When we open this load up and go into the details of the load, you'll be able to see and determine that. Okay. So the rate and the rate check. But before I get into that again, the equipment is a V. What does V stand for under equipment? This load requires V. What is V?
A van.
Van. It requires a van. The size of the load is TL, the feet is 53 feet, and the weight is 25,000 pounds. So it's a truckload of freight going on a 53-foot trailer, and the total weight of the truckload is 25,000 pounds. So that falls within your carrier's profile. Of course it will, because we put that in the filters before we did the search. So all these loads are going to fall within the profile because we put the filters in place for that, right? So that's the beauty of filtering freight. If you go into a load board and just search loads without putting any filters in, you're going to get all types of stuff, and then you got to decide which one you want to take. But if you filter it according to your carrier's profile, you narrow it down, you get a better chance to find what your carrier wants, right? So now let me explain the difference again between rate and rate check. Well, not again, first time. So the rate column is what the broker posted this load for, $2,450. The rate check column is what the spot market or the lane averages that all across the board brokers pay, and it's paying $28.74. So it's more. So this broker posted it for some $425 less than what the average pays for this lane, North Carolina to Texas. You see that? See those two numbers? So this broker posted it for less than the average. Would you take a load that a broker posted for less than the average of the lane? Yes or no?
No, not necessarily.
Why not necessarily?
Um, because as you said, you have to factor in the deadhead miles, um, and all those other factors, such as probably wear and tear on the brakes and things like that, depending on the part of geography that you have your carrier in.
Okay, and then Sherwood said he would negotiate. So it's 425 miles less. It's going to be hard to kind of negotiate up to that number. And if you see the numbers under that too, you see what it says 24,450. It said, matter of fact, let me enlarge this a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. Bring that up.
Thank you.
There we go. So now it's larger, right? So the number under the rate is the rate per mile for that. So $2,450, that is a $1.71 per mile rate for the distance between Washington, North Carolina to Wichita Falls, Texas, that 1432. How do we figure that out? How will you figure out rate per mile is you take the dollar value, 24,450. You guys can do it on the calculator now. 24,450, and you divide it by the number of miles. In this case, 1432. So what is 2,450 divided by 1,432? Dollars divided by the miles. It should be 1.71 something, right? If you got a calculator. That's how you figure out cents per mile or rate per mile or dollars per mile. It's dollars divided by, per is a Latin word, means divide, right? Dollars per mile. Okay. Did everybody get 171?
Yep.
1.71, right? That's how you figure it out. The broker put it, the market, the spot market on average, all the brokers on the country on average pays $28.74. So $28.74 divided by 1432 is $2.01 per mile. So you would, remember I'm the carrier, I said I wanted at least $2 a mile. So if you're trying to get it over $2 a mile, well, $2.01, it's over $2 a mile, even though it's just a penny, right? But you would try to negotiate. I would try to jump up to $3,000 if it were me. I would say, look, I got a truck empty right now. We're about 20 miles from Washington, North Carolina, and we're ready now. We're empty. We got the hours for it. This is you, the dispatcher, talking to the broker. We got the hours for it. We could take it, but we can do it at we do it about 3,000. What do you say about that? You got 3,000 in that load? Now, most brokers who post loads, whatever they post it for, you can absolutely guarantee that they have more money in that load than what they posted it to sell to that carrier for. Okay? Every broker, when they post a load, there is more money in a load than what's posted for sale to the carrier. Every broker. Don't let a
Mr. Money.
yes.
Not to cut you off, but this is an important question because the problem with double and triple brokering is that a reason as what you're basing your assumption on there or facts on?
No, no. So let me break
Okay,
down what you just said too. But to answer your question, no, but there's no such thing as triple brokering.
okay,
There is such a thing as double brokering, right? The definition of double brokering is brokering the same load twice. So
okay,
if I'm a carrier and I get this load brokered to me, let's say by ARL Transport, right? So I own the load. I signed a rate confirmation. The load was given to me. I'm the carrier. I'm a trucking company. Then I try to sell it to another trucking company or broker it. But I'm a carrier. I'm trying to act as a broker. I don't have a broker authority. I have a carrier authority. So I'm double brokering the load. I got it brokered to me and I'm trying to broker it to somebody else. That's
I
what
see,
double brokering is.
I
Okay.
see.
That's illegal, right? And we'll get into that later on and down the line in trainings, but because I got guests in here, I want to keep it on a certain level. But yeah, right. But my point about the brokers is there's more money in the load that's posted because brokers have to make their money too. They have what's called profit margin. So if they get this load sold at 2,400, they're going to bill the shipper who they got the load from. They may have gotten it tendered to them for $3,000. So they're going to bill when the load gets delivered by the truck driver, me, let's say for example, carrier, they're going to invoice the customer, the broker is $3,000, which is what was tendered to them for. They're going to pay you, the truck driver, 24.50, and guess where the other 550 goes? Goes in the broker's pocket. That's how the industry works. Yeah, hey Jacqueline, how you doing?
I guess maybe because this one is right like in my face. You see this the line right underneath it, how the rate they have $2,400 and the rate check is 22.55. That's it. I guess I guess I'm trying to figure out why is that rate so much higher than the rate check? Could it be they're trying to get rid of the load?
That's a
I
good
mean, and
point. Just looking at
that's a good.
just looking at it as is,
mm,
would you dispatch that load to your carrier? Because it's paying a
I would.
it's paying now guys, we're looking at the second line now, the second line from Ettrick, Virginia, which is 69
Mm,
miles from Norfolk to Wells,
to Wells, Maine.
Maine,
Mm,
way up in the Northeast, right?
mm,
Also, do keep that in mind when you're dispatching and sending your carriers all over the country. Be mindful. You got to send them to areas that you can get them out of as well,
mm.
right? So don't just because you see a high paying load, don't send them out if you can't get them out of there.
Get them back in. Right.
Dispatchers run into that issue a lot. They'll see, man, it's paying 2,400. I charge 10%, so I'm going to get $240 for just booking that one load for my carrier. But then your carrier is stuck for 3 days in an area you sent them to that they can't get nothing out of for that equipment type that they have, right? That's an issue with dispatching. So you got to be mindful of what areas of the country to send your carrier, and you'll learn that over time, right?
Mm,
And experience. Okay. So, but to answer the question, this load is paying $145 higher than what the average pays for that lane or that Virginia to Maine run, right? And it's $3.62 a mile, right? Well, wow, that's way over.
right.
Right? So, would you guys who would take that load or who would try to book that load for their carrier? Is that a good load to consider?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's above the average
Yeah.
market. It's above the spot market. What I mean by spot market, when we look at a load board, all these loads
Mhm.
are spot market loads. What do I mean by that? There's different types of loads. There are spot market loads and there are contract loads. Okay?
Mhm.
Spot market loads are the loads that brokers post on the load boards, which is what we're looking at right now. Spot market. Contract loads are the loads that the direct shippers, customers tender or give directly to the trucks, not the brokers, directly to the trucking companies. Those are contract loads, right? We're looking at spot market loads.
Mhm.
As new dispatch services, you're going to begin your journey in this space looking at spot market loads to get the experience of how it's done before you pivot or transition into trying to get contract loads. Because if you get contract loads, then theoretically it's more money for your carrier and indirectly more money for you because now you've removed the broker from the equation, right? Contract loads don't involve brokers. It's directly from the shipper to the truck. There's no middleman broker. You see? Spot market loads, there is a middleman broker. But that's fine because you want to learn the beginning processes anyway. You want to learn the mechanics of it and how it's done, right? So Jennifer just said, isn't it a snowstorm going through that area now? Yeah, the Northeast. So that's another thing too. As dispatchers, you want to be mindful of what? Seasons, weather conditions, roads, things like that. So when you're sending your carrier to an area, right now it's February, the Northeast. I'm watching the world news now, and I see a blizzard almost like over there in the Northeast, right?
Absolutely.
Flights are canceled, roads are shut down, schools are closed. So I would be a fool dispatcher to put my carrier in danger of going up there and getting stuck. I would keep them on a lower half in the panhandle area of the country, like Mississippi, Alabama, where it's dry down there and flat land, not going in those mountains and things like that to the northeast, and keep them running down there because for a dry van, you can still make money down in the southeast area, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. That's called the panhandle by the Gulf of Mexico down there. And you'll get familiar with the terms, looking at the map and things like that. And there's map, we have maps in here. Okay. So all this verbiage, and I'm telling you, you're going to pick it up. Trust me, you're going to pick it up because we repetitively say it. Okay. But that's what a beginner course is supposed to be, so that you can establish a foundation to build from. You understand? So, but yeah, this second rate that Jacqueline just said, of course, you want to, that's a good rate to take. Now, let's say you choose a load. How do you, Where do you go next? Well, you click any open space in any one of the loads to get the load details. So let's click this one. And now it opens up to what's called the load details, the details of the load, because now you want to get more specific information so that you can consider booking a load or not, according to your carrier's profile and where you want to send them, so on and so forth, as a dispatch service, right? So you get the information about the load, any special instructions, more details right here. So under more details, what are the items on the trailer or what's the commodity? What's being loaded? Well, it says noodles, right? Right there, noodles. That's what's being loaded. Because sometimes carriers will ask the dispatchers, hey, I only put certain types of commodities on my trailer. So if you try to find loads for me, make sure you ask the broker what the commodity is or what the cargo is or what the freight, what are the goods that's being loaded on that trailer. Because I don't put certain things on my trailer, right? You got certain carriers who are prima donnas like that, right? They real prissy. Like I don't want to put no because I don't. Some of them they don't want to spend monies on truck washes or trailer washes to wash their trailers out. I get that part because that's a over time that money adds up, right? But then you have other carriers who are like just they cry they break a nail, right? So, but if they require that of you and you decide to go with that carrier, then you got to be mindful of making sure that you ask the broker, hey, what's the commodity on this? And you ask that when you're negotiating the rate. Hey, by the way, what are we hauling? What's the commodity? Oh, yes, it's a truckload of noodles. they're boxed up and palletized and shrink wrapped and banded. So everything's great. So you can't damage that. They're dry goods, right? And they'll tell you all that. The reference number, so when your carrier gets to the location to pick it up, they can refer it so that the shipper knows what load to grab to load their trailer, things like that, right? So that's the beauty of 123 load board. I'm going to show you one more thing too. Here's the weight, 28,000 is a truckload, is van, all these details. One more thing I want to point out in the load details section, if you want to call the dispatch for the brokerage, here's their number. But backhauls, remember I was just saying, try not to send your carriers to areas that you can't get them out of. Remember I mentioned that a few moments ago? Right? The art of dispatching and the science of dispatching is to keep your carrier's wheels running as long as they have the hours to drive to get loads back and forth before they have to reset their hours, because carriers have what's called hours of service, or HOS, right? 24 hours in a day, 14 hours of which they can drive within the 14 hours, 14 hours of which they can be on duty, 24 hours, 14 on duty, 11 within the 14 they can drive, and then the other 10 outside of that 14, they have to be resting or doing what's called an hour reset to recycle their hours, right? And we'll get into details about that too. I just wanted to give you an overview of that. But try to send your carriers to areas that you know that you can get them out of. And there's different areas all over the country that you will strategically learn where to send them based off of their equipment type. And we go over that as well. All you had to do now is just get all these resources we have back here and then start putting it together, get a carrier, and start doing it. That's all you got to do, right? The platform is here for you. All the information, the templates are right in front of you. You just got to do the work. That's the only thing I can't do for you is your job. I can show you how to do it, but I can't do it. You see what I'm saying? So, but I'll give you all of me, but you still have to do it. You understand? And there's nothing to it, well, but to do it, right? So, but anyway, backhauls. Remember backhauls, getting something coming back, or what's called a reload. Another word for backhauls is called a reload or another load. But sometimes truckers will ask you, hey man, you're sending me to Norfolk to Maine. Is there a backhaul out of there or a reload, another load getting out of there? They may say to you like that. Well, let's check it out. In 123 load board, they in the load details, they have a feature called backhauls. And right here it says for this particular load, it says there's 11 possible loads. So we click it right here. And it breaks down the 11 loads, right? So, and it's backhaul out of Maine, either back to Virginia or somewhere else. Because this load we're looking at was from Norfolk to, not from Norfolk, but from Ettrick, Virginia to, right, Wells, Maine, right? This load right here we're looking at, the one that Jacqueline suggested. Now we need a backhaul coming out of Wells, Maine, going somewhere else. Well, here are the options. So the load board provides you that. You just got to decide what you want to do. So the backhaul, and let me stop here and let me ask her, are there any questions? Because I don't want to move without making sure people are okay. We're good?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody else good? Okay. Making sure. We'll make sure everybody's good. All right. And guests, are you guys okay? You have everything? You guys are getting this stuff?
We're good.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so now backhauls, right? Or reloads or other loads out of where so you sent your carrier from Ettrick, in this example, Ettrick, Virginia to Wells, Maine, right? So let me open up a map real quick to show you what that looks like. And let's go to our main menu. Let's go to tools and resources. Everything is, I'm telling you, everything is in the back office. Hot market areas, we can look at maps here. We can look at maps here. Matter of fact, let's look at this map. And scroll down to the map. And right here. So we are, and let me blow it up a little bit so I can show you. Is that, I don't want to blow it up where it gets out of the focus or out of the scene. Okay, right there. So we are in Ettrick, Virginia. We're Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach right here. So Norfolk, Virginia is like somewhere right here. Zone, what's the zone? Zone 2. It even shows the zones on the map. Zone 2, Zone 1, Zone 5, Zone. You see what I'm saying? According to the zip codes of cities in those zones, right? So Virginia Zone 2, and it's going to Zone 0. So somewhere in Maine, Wells, Maine, up here in Maine, which is northeast, way up northeast, almost in Canada, right? Zone 0, because the zip codes up in that area starts with 0, right? So that's where you look at it on the map. Okay? Just so to give you an idea of that. Now back to the load board. So now we need something coming out of there. Wells, we got them up there for 24. Let's say we got them up there for 3,000. We negotiated a good rate, even though it was good on a load board for 24. Go ahead, Marquel. You got a question?
Yeah, that was gonna be the question I wanted to ask you. You said you would try to negotiate for the 3.
Right, because so the art of negotiation entails seeing how much of a need the broker has to get this load moved. And you could tell that by how long it's been posted on the load board. If it's been posted for 8+ hours, that means it's been sitting there all day and they can't seem to find a driver who wants to take the load. Probably because the rate that they posted it for is not enough for a driver to be interested in taking that load. So that's a negotiating leverage that you have to negotiate, right? And another one is saying, hey, well, my guy is about 20 miles away and he's empty. He'll take the load, but we'll do it for 3,000. I know this has been sitting here for a while. I mean, and then their customer, the broker's customer, which is the shipper, is on the back of their neck saying, hey, man, why is this load still sitting here? It needs to move. Our customer's waiting on this freight. Do I need to find another broker and get rid of you and find another broker to get this load moved? So you never know the scenario of why a load is posted for so long on a load board. Brokers could be going through some issues too. But when you see certain hints and clues, you can use that as leverage as a dispatcher in order to try to negotiate more money for your carrier and indirectly for you. Because remember, as a dispatcher, you're either charging a percentage or a flat fee for the week. So in this training, we say between 5 and 10% per load, or between $250 to $500 per week, depending on which one makes more sense for you. Most people go with the percentage per load. Go ahead.
So you remember when I told you about the guy with the double trailer?
Yep.
And he said that I asked him how much his dispatchers was actually charging him, and he said 10%. And then I asked him per load or for the week, for the gross per week, and he said for the week. So
if he grossed $10,000 for the week, the dispatcher is going to get 10% of that, which is the 1,000.
and so because that's kind of how I intend to structure my operation. And so what are your thoughts about that?
There's nothing
I mean,
wrong with that.
okay.
It's and this is for everybody too. When I say this, it's your company. If you feel that's the way you want to structure it, go right ahead. That is your prerogative. It's your company. You are an independent dispatch service. You can use others' pricing schemes as leverage and as a way to decide which one you want to use based off of examples of how they do theirs. But the ultimate decision for how you price, how you make your money as a dispatch service is up to you, right?
Yes, sir. I'm interested in understanding um your pricing scheme, the 10% per load.
Every load that I book was, let's say I use 10%. So if I book this load at $3,000 at 10%, and it takes, what was that load? It was about how many miles is that? Let's go out of the details. It's a 663 mile load. So that could take a day and a half to get up there, right? So that's one load. and let's say I booked that on a Monday. Let's say I booked 3 loads a week. Let's say I booked 3 loads a week
Mm-hmm.
for that at 10% per load, and I booked it $3,000, right? That load, another load of 3,000, another load of 2,000, whatever, right? So you can either do the gross or you can do per load. It's gonna the math is gonna add up to the same number.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So
Makes
if I do 369, $9,000 at 10%, that's 900. But if I do 300, if I do 3,000 for this load at 10%, that's 300. If I do the next load Monday to Wednesday, then Wednesday to Friday, another 3,000, that's 300. So that's 600. And I do Friday over the weekend to the following Monday, another 3,000. That's 10%, that's 300. So that now we went from 900. So it's the same number. They add. So the beauty about math is universal. You can't, there's no way around it. Mathematics is universal. That's a universal science. You can't dispute
sense.
it. It never loses, right? So you can decide now if you do a flat fee and say I'll charge you 500 for the week and you book them 3 loads, you're going to make less money, right? Because 500 for the week as opposed to 900 for those 3 loads because at 10% each. So you got to decide. But if you're booking less loads, then doing a flat fee makes more sense because it's less loads. But if you're doing more loads per week, then the percentage makes more sense because you're making more money per each load. So the more loads, the more money you make. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. And then it's still the same as if you were on a weekly gross.
It's still the same, universal. That's correct. Yep, you got it. That's correct. Did everybody else?
Thank you.
Is there someone who did not understand that breakdown that I just gave and needs some more clarity? I have no problem explaining it. Um, so the backhaul. So we're from Ettrick, Virginia to Wales, Maine, right? And now we want to see some reloads coming out of Maine. So what's the first option? Wales, Maine, going back to Ettrick that we came from. There's only one load. Okay, that's a backhaul coming out of there. Okay, that's good. If you want to come back, if you want to look at that, you just click it and see what it is. Then there's Wales, Maine, the city that you just delivered to, coming back to any city in the state of Virginia or in the Commonwealth of Virginia. There's one load. It's probably the same load. And then Wales, Maine, going anywhere. There's 8 loads. So now this is a good option because you got 8 choices. You can see the numbers and which one makes more sense for you there, right? So that'll probably be the one I choose. And then you got the state of Maine going to the state of Virginia, and then the state of Maine going to anywhere. Now, I'm going to tell you why these 2 options I don't like. Because the state of Maine going to the state of Virginia, there's 0 loads, but the state of Maine, how do you know how far you got to drive from Wales, Maine, to a pickup in another city in Maine? You don't know. It could be 200 miles, it could be 300 miles, it could be 50 miles. You don't know. It just told you, it gave you a broad backhaul option. You see that? It just said the state of Maine. You don't know what city. You right now, you just delivered in Wells, Maine. You don't know how far you got a deadhead to another city in Maine to get that load. And it's good that it said 0 because there's nothing available. And then the state of Maine to anywhere, there's 1. But again, you don't know how far deadhead you got to go from Wales to that. You will, if you click this and open it up, let's do that. Let's click it and open it up. You see? So now it's Bangor, Maine. So how far is Bangor, Maine? And it's
From
not
well,
and from Wales, right? Somebody can look that up. And it's going to Columbia, South Carolina, which is 1,114 miles, and it's only paying $569 because it's an LTL. That's why. It's only 2,500 pounds. It's like probably only a few pallets. So it wouldn't even be worth it. You see? So it wouldn't even be worth it. So back to the backhauls. So this one here, Wales, to anywhere, because Wales, Maine, because you're literally in that city. You just delivered to a receiver facility in that city. So you can find a load coming out of there. You got 8 options. Let's look at those. 8 options right here. And you'll be able to see what they are as a dispatcher. Now you're doing this, so you're looking for your next load for your, and this might be a question later on. Well, when do I look for my next load for my carrier when I find them their first load? Well, the moment they pick their load up, the first load, you should be looking for their next load. You don't want to wait to the day of they deliver to try to find them a load. It's too late. Now because you may be scrambling finding something, but while they're in transit, moving to that first load to deliver, you should be looking for something coming out of there. That's what good dispatchers do. Why would you wait to the last minute to try to find a load coming out of where your guy is going to deliver to currently? That is not good dispatching, right? You don't dispatch the day of. You dispatch prior to, right? And that'll keep you, and you do that over and over and over, right? You never try to find a load for a carrier same day. It almost never happens. Almost never happens. About 80% of the time, you're never going to find, 85% of the time, I'm a betting man, you'll never find a load for a carrier same day. Never. So it's good. It's good. In other words, it's good to be ahead of the curve as a dispatcher. You want to have your ducks in a row and ahead of the curve. So by the time your carrier delivers that first load, they get to the receiver to get unloaded, you're already sending them a rate confirmation for their next load. Hey, I got a load you to pick up. Once you get offloaded here, you got another load. You got to drive 75 miles deadhead to pick this load up, and it's going down to Atlanta. Hey, you in Atlanta? You about to be offloaded? Okay, I got another load for you. It's about 80 miles from Atlanta, picking up going over to Houston. Hey, you get to Houston yet? Okay, I got a load for you. When you get offloaded to Houston, you got a deadhead over to Laredo to pick it up and going back over to Columbus, Ohio. So that's how you do it. You keep them running and you stay ahead of the curve. You don't say, hey, you delivered in Maine yet? Yeah, I'm about to be now. I'm about to pull up to the facility. Okay, let me find you a load. Let me find you a load. What? Let you find me a load? I thought you already found me something. So now I got to sit here potentially for a day or two because you may not find them something. That's not dispatching, guys. That is not dispatching. That way, I should say. That's not dispatching. So keep that in mind, right? Does everybody understand what I just said? Everybody get that process, that point? You want to stay ahead of the curve. You never want to try to book a load for your carrier day of. That doesn't make sense, right? You want to have them something ready already. And one of the ways of doing that, let me hit you over the gym. When you book that first load with that broker that's going from Ettrick, Virginia over to Wales, Maine, ask the broker, hey man, do you got a load coming out of there? You just already got on board with the broker. You already did the broker carrier agreement. Just your luck. They may have something coming out of there. Yeah, matter of fact, I do got something coming out of Maine. It's going over to Columbus, Ohio. You want that load? Yeah, our guy gonna be there. When does it pick up? The day or the next day when the guy gets there? Yeah, it picks up the next day. He delivers at 3 p.m. He might as well sit there and do his 10-hour reset. So tomorrow morning he can pick it up at 6 a.m. and then go over to Columbus, Ohio. Perfect. Let's book it. Now you don't have to do a broker. Once you do a broker carrier agreement for your carrier with the freight broker one time and they get set up with that broker, that's the only time you need to do that. You don't have to do a broker carrier agreement for every load with the broker, but one time. But what you do have to do every time with the broker, for every load, you do have to do a rate confirmation for each load because each load is paying a different rate. But you only need to set up with that specific broker one time for your carrier. You guys understand that? You don't have to do a broker carrier agreement more than once for that one broker. Just one time, and you're in their system. Your carrier is in their system, and they are an approved carrier. Someone asked that question a long time ago. Hey, for every load that I get for this particular broker, do I got to do a broker carrier agreement? No, you just do that one time. You're set up in their system one time. but you do have to do rate confirmations for each load for that specific broker. Okay, just learned something, right? So, all right, so these are the 8 loads coming out of Wells, Maine. I'll click it, put it in order of highest to lowest, and then you just decide, you know, you may do this the same day that you book the load going from Eastern Virginia to Wells, Maine. You may look for something for them coming out. Okay, I got a load Lawrence, Massachusetts, which is 50 something miles from Wells, Maine, going to Alabaster, Alabama, going down south, paying 2,200. Now you can negotiate these rates up higher, right? But yeah. All right. And that's what it's about, guys. That's what it's about. Any questions here? I'm gonna call the carrier now, get you guys nervous a little bit. Talking to a reefer carrier. You guys ready to hear from a real truck driver?
I got a question.
Yes.
What about you book like 2 routes already and something happened to the truck, mechanical issues? What can you do after that? Does he get a violation because he canceled the load?
Okay, repeat that again. I wanna make sure I hear it clearly.
Let's say you give him a route already, and then you book the second route, but when going to the finishing the other one, the truck breaks down. And you have to cancel the other one. He gets a violation by canceling it?
No, because that's something that
Well,
happens that was out of the control of the carrier. So logistics and transportation is a very volatile industry. Things like that happen. Accidents, truck breakdowns, blowout of tires, fatalities, delays. So if you book the load, let's use this as an example. We booked the load from Eastern Virginia to Wells, Maine. Driver's there. He got there, delivered this load. We booked the second load. He was on his way to the second load. Let's say we chose the second load right here, Lawrence, Massachusetts, down to Alabama. On his way, either on his way there or getting ready to go, something happened that caused him to delay it. You, the dispatcher, and the driver agree, we need to call this broker to cancel this load because of this reason. And now the broker's going to be upset, but he can't be too mad because there's either a delay, a traffic jam, or he had a blowout, um, things like that, right? So, but my thing is let the broker know in a timely fashion. Don't wait until the broker is expecting your carrier to pick that load up to call them and say, hey, we can't pick the load up. The moment you discover or the carrier shares with you that they won't be able to get that second load that you booked for them with that broker, call that broker. Okay? The sooner the better, because the broker has to let their customer know that their truck dropped off and they got to find another truck. You see? So now, if your carrier did it for a malicious reason, then the broker may put them on what's called a freight guard or a do not use list, what's called DNU, David Nancy United, do not use. That's a real thing. But it's only the DNU list is only broker wide with that specific broker. Other brokers won't see it. But a freight guard, other brokers will see that because that's a national software that if your carrier's MC has been freight guarded, then everybody else will see it as a warning sign and a warning sign and a flag. Okay. So just do your diligence as a dispatcher. Certain things are out of your control as a dispatcher. And one of those things is the behavior of your carrier. So that's out of your control. Okay. All right. So let me call Smooth. See what's up, if he's available. You guys ready? I'm gonna mute everybody when I'm calling him. And I'm gonna talk to him about some stuff, and you guys can ask him a question if you want.
What up, bro?
What up, Smooth?
Yo, what's up with you?
Just here talking to the students. Figure out
Oh, that's what's up.
call it real quick. Can you guys hear?
caught me in the middle of this grill, this propane gas grill, and I'm gonna start a little side business. I got some cooks. Everybody else in there. Anyway, what's good?
So remember I tell you I was going to show you, I'm going to show it to the students while I'm explaining to you too, the lanes for the reefers, right?
Okay.
So I'm looking at reefer on my screen and the students are seeing it too. You guys see the screen that I'm sharing with you guys? Okay, so for the reefers, the top 10 lanes, reefers are best if you want higher rate per mile potential, food and produce consistency, and year-round necessity freight. The reality though is it's more appointment strictness, temperature claims, risks, more stress is if not organized, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things because I own reefer before. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I almost had to file an insurance claim because I think my alternator went out on it. So I had to rush down to I think I stopped in at Thermo King, but I had to carry a trailer. So therefore Thermo King charged me more because it wasn't a Thermo King trailer. However, the trailer retained coldness and they fixed it and got it running again. I don't want to go through all that again. I just want to do the flatbed, you know what I mean? Tie it down, chain it down, done deal. You know what I mean? That reefer is it can be a headache.
Okay, well let's go to flatbed lanes. I got some top 10 flatbed lanes. So the most profitable flatbed, 53-foot flatbed freight lanes, Houston, Texas to Pittsburgh, PA. Okay, that's number one, flatbed.
Does it give you a rate per mile?
It does give the breakdown. So it's high outbound hauling, oil fields, gear, pipe, machinery, etc., heavy tools, strong industrial demand. Okay. I'll give you the breakdown for rate per mile. It's flatbed freight typically commands higher average rates than dry vans with contract shipper to carrier flatbed rates, often above $3.10 per mile.
That sounds decent.
Due to complexity and demand.
That's like very good. $3 a mile.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So Houston to Pittsburgh. Now the number two is
how many miles is from Houston to Pittsburgh out of curiosity?
I can look that up.
That's about 1,500, yeah.
It sounds about right. Somebody looked it up for me, but I can go to Google real quick and put that in. Houston, Texas to, what did I say, Pittsburgh or Philly? I said Pittsburgh?
Yeah, you said Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is 1336. 1,336. Yep.
So you'll multiply that by 310.
By 3, that's correct. So you hear what the carrier is saying, guys? He's figuring out, he's doing the dollar value. We got the rate per mile that the lane pays, 310. Now we got the miles. So now we're saying, well, how much can we make off of that? So we take $3.10 per mile and multiply that times the number of miles in this particular case. So 310 times 1336, that's 4,100. That's $4,141.60.
I mean, you could probably try to push them up to 45, 46.
That's correct. See what he just said? Negotiation, 45, 46. Yep.
Yeah, and then that run should run me about $700 in fuel, so that extra money will come in handy. Plus, I gotta pay the broker already took his off the top. I'm talking about the dispatcher. He will charge 4, 5, 6%, so he get his off the top. So I gotta add that into the factor as well.
There you go. So he just mentioned. Let me share my calculator screen with the students too. So let's figure out fuel real quick. And this is more advanced for you guys, but I'm gonna share it with you anyway. Smooth already know this. So share the calculator screen. So fuel cost. So the miles was 1336, right? And the miles per gallon for a tank these days, the miles per gallon that gets, what is it now? Between what, 6.5 and 7.5 miles per?
No, if you getting 7 something a mile, I would get rid of that truck. The average is about 6.5.
Okay.
Mines give up 6.5.
Okay, so We taking the miles, 1336. You see my calculator on the screen, guys? 1336 miles on that trip. I'm going to divide it by, what'd you say, Smooth? 6.5?
6.5, yeah.
6.5 miles to the gallon. So if I take 1,336 miles for that particular lane and divide it by 6.5 miles to the gallon for that truck, that's going to tell me how many gallons it's going to take to run that, which is 205.5 gallons. You
Yeah,
take you take that and
yep,
multiply it by the cost of diesel out of there.
correct, correct.
So the cost of
That,
diesel, let's say the cost of diesel was $3.40. So we'll say 205 gallons times $3.40. It's going to cost you $698 in fuel to pay for that 1,336-mile run. That's how
and
carriers figure out their numbers. Dispatchers,
I tell you about 700.
you said about 700. That's correct. I knew this. I just wanted to show the guys on the
Yeah,
students on the screen.
100%. 100%. Absolutely.
Right. So you want to make sure, oh, LaDonna said, hey, Smooth. LaDonna.
Hey, yo, what up?
So now I want to ask you a question, Smooth.
What's up, man?
I used to dispatch for you, but overall, what do you think a carrier looks for in a dispatcher? What are some of the things that characteristics of a dispatcher that you look for?
Consistency. Also, like everybody's in the game to make money. So you got to be well-rounded and have connections, so to speak. When you first starting out, I get it. You know what I mean? A lot of people are not going to want to deal with you because you're doing something that they can do. You got to go above and beyond for your carrier to do things that they can't do or don't have the time to do.
Right.
Whether that's booking loads. I remember I called this guy like 3 in the morning. What had happened that day?
Yeah, you talk about me. So here's a real. So Smooth had he's a reefer. At the time, he was a reefer owner operator. I dispatched for, what was that, about 6 years ago? 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah, I had Loyal Breed then.
Loyal Breed. He had under his trucking company called Loyal Breed. We dispatched a coyote load going to a facility, and he got caught up, I think, in the lumper, right? They didn't want to release you until the lumper was paid.
Yeah,
Smooth called
they wouldn't let
me.
my trailer go.
Right. Smooth called me at, what was it, 3 in the morning?
It was 3 in the morning, about 3:15.
Yeah, and I think my wife like nudged me. Who calling you? She thinking some girl got a side chick or something, right? So who you calling you at 3 in the morning? So I looked at it, I said, Smooth, I still got you saved as Smooth. So I said, oh yeah, that's Brother Hakeem. So I answered it. He said, yeah, they want to release me, man, to this lumpers pay. So I called. It just so happened that Coyote, which is the brokerage, had a 24-hour customer service thing. I called him and explained the situation. Hey, we need to pay this lumper. And for those of you who don't know what a lumper is, at every shipping or receiving facility, the people there, sometimes they'll load or offload the freight. They charge for that service sometimes, and sometimes they require the carriers to charge, and they'll just give them a receipt so the carriers can get reimbursed. That was the case with us. I called Coyote. What Coyote did is say, okay, give them this code or this number to your carrier so that they can give it to the window, a T code number, right? And they said the amount of the lumber was like $147 at the time. So in order to pay for a lumper, this particular facility required the amount of the lumper, the tax ID of the facility, right? And I think there was one more thing that they required to do the lumper. And the lumper was released. It was paid and released, so you can move on to your next load because I think you had something in that next morning. You had to drive to that location.
Yeah, they had the darn trailer lock, and once that bar lock onto the back of your trailer, you're not going nowhere.
Right. You had it locked. It came up on there and locked it in, and so you got released. You drove, and then you made it to your next pickup at wherever I can't remember where you went.
That is like if you're more than 15 minutes late, your carrier is more than 15 minutes late, they will have to call a broker. Sometimes you got to make an appointment again. So your guy is sitting. This is like one of the reasons I really don't like dealing with reefer. Although my overall on time loads are or more than my late ones, because I'm out to make money. But this is like one of the reasons I was discussing with you, Charles. I want to do like over dimensional, and what I mean. Those pretty much, you got a pretty much of a good window of going up there, dropping it. Plus, it pays a hell of a lot more.
Right.
We're talking about $6 or $7 a mile.
Right. Right. So yeah. And so that's so what Smooth said about the characteristics they look for in a dispatcher, consistency, right? Consistency. So let me see if there's anyone. Does anyone have a question for this carrier, Smooth?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Marquell. This is Marquell, Smooth. Go ahead.
So he's doing flatbeds. So he mentioned being well-rounded. Could you just elaborate on that a little bit, please?
I can do it for him. I'll just say 2 words or 3 words. 20-year experience.
Is he on loudspeaker? I could barely hear him.
Yeah, he's on the. I got him on speaker.
Could you? I can barely understand you guys because of the.
So he said you mentioned well-rounded. So he said, could you elaborate on that? I said, I got 3 words: 20-year experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well-rounded.
And yeah. I mean, I'm not blowing my own horn or anything, but I go where the money goes. So I did anywhere from tanker to hazmat to step deck to flatbed to 3-sided car crusher to dump truck, dump trailer, like wherever the money is, that's where I'm at. So if I'm messing with a dispatcher and they say, dude, look, we got to load, you need tankers. Well, I got that endorsement. Well, you need hazmat. Well, your insurance got to be for hazmat, but let's just say tankers to keep it simple. I got that. So if you have a well-rounded, that go both ways. If you have a well-rounded carrier and you're a well-rounded dispatcher, y'all can make a lot of money together.
Yep. There you go.
So, you did mention 5-6%. Like, do you think that there's a lot more money that you can make? Like, just say drive in, flatbed, step deck, of course, whatever the specialized freight. But just say typical drive in and flatbed. Do you feel in the current markets, even if it's not a hot market, that a carrier can gross or dispatcher can gross a carrier a minimum of 7,500, 8,000 a week?
Could you repeat what he said?
Can you? Yeah. So he's saying right now in the current state, is it possible for a dispatcher, I guess for whatever equipment type, to gross a carrier between 7,500 and 8 a week?
Well, just last week I did 8,000.
He just said just last week he did 8,000. So
how many loads per week did you do? How many loads for that week?
5.
5 loads. You did 5 loads to get 8,000?
Yes.
Yeah, 5 loads to do 8,000. So they probably was. Oh, so that's like short runs then.
No, you know how I run, man. Come on.
5 loads. 5 loads. What? 7 days? You did it? What you did? 7 days?
You know how I run, man. Stop playing.
Yeah. You did it. How many you did? 7 days and for 5 loads?
5 loads and sometimes 6. If I do 6, I'll be pushing up in maybe 8,500. But if I do 5, it'd be like 6,000 to 7,000. Now the rates will vary as according to what you're pulling, how much the broker wanted there. You could grab a load paying 1,900, and that same load, if they wanted as a hot load, would pay 2,800. So It's all according.
Right.
It's the same amount, same product, but it's according if they want it there.
So as a new dispatcher, I will probably have to help them in that because they may be taken advantage of by these brokers, like you just said. Yeah.
Driver, he's going to look at your dispatcher like, yo, you better go renegotiate that.
Right. Yeah. Because a $1,900 load carrying $2,800 is what the market is paying. So yeah. Otherwise, don't take that load.
Yeah, they got a thing on DAT to where as though you know where the hot spots are. So if your driver is willing to run, okay, we talking OTR. If he's willing to run, y'all can make money. All you got to do is stick with those hot spots that DAC is showing you, and send your truck in that area. They do what do they call it? Truck ratio.
Yeah, load the truck ratio. So we got it too in our back office. DAT, talking about trend lines, DAT trend
Yeah,
lines,
that's it.
load to
That's it.
truck, load to capacity ratio, and trend load to truck ratio, and
That's
the
that's
national rates.
Hey,
that's my
Mr. Monday,
money right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Mis- is that DAT Select?
No, so in our portal, let me show you what. So Smooth just made a reference to something we already have in our back office that you
Uh-huh.
guys can see. Um, Let me just show it to you where it's at in the back office and under tools and resources. We have something called trend lines. Okay, and trend lines shows the market rates for the three major equipment types: dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers. Right, and I'm looking at them. Hopefully, you guys can see my screen. So with the trend lines, it's showing the van demand and capacity, the van national rates, the flatbed demand and capacity, the flatbed rates.
I don't see the screen.
Yeah, you got to share your screen.
I'm sharing it right now. All right. Can you see it now? My apologies. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what Smooth just mentioned, uh, the trend lines, it shows, and this is an analytical tool that DAT put out. We have access to it in our portal under tools and
Word.
resources. Okay. So the trends are for the three major equipment types: dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers. So we got the van demand and capacity and the van national rates, the flatbed and demand and capacity and the flatbed national rates, and the reefer demand and capacity and the reefer national rates. Since we're talking to Smooth, I'm going to do it for the flatbed because that's what he's talking about, right? So the flatbed demand and capacity, I'm going to click that. So what does it mean by demand and capacity? Demand and capacity mean what is the load to truck ratio for a flatbed equipment type all over the country? So how many for one load, how many trucks are or for how many loads are available for one truck in a certain state? So if you see it, it's purple right now, right? And the little legend at the bottom, 18 plus and so on and so forth. So click if you hover over like Ohio, for example. Well, it's all purple. So for flatbeds, load to truck ratio is 18 plus. So 18 loads for every one flatbed. So you'll be hard pressed not to find a load in Ohio for a flatbed.
Yeah, if it's red, that's a hot area.
That's a hot market, right? So that has a feature in there too called a hot market. You can click on it. And matter of fact, let's go to 123 load board and look at the same
That
thing.
was good.
Look at the same thing.
Wait, I think I missed something. I think I kind of misunderstood or misheard. You said you'd be hard pressed to be in Ohio while is that
So if you go back to if I go back to the flatbed trend lines,
yes, 18
and
plus loads.
18 plus load, you got one flatbed in Ohio, you'll be hard pressed not to find a load there. There should be a load for you.
Okay. Oh, not to find it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right. So
I
now
got you.
go to 123 load board and show you the load availability, which is almost like the hot markets. So right here, where the color coded, the reds and the greens and stuff like that, Smooth was making that reference to 123 load board does it in a different way than that, but it still shows you either in a map version or a density version of the loads that are available in the certain states. So according to this legend, green means good as opposed to red on that. Green, there are loads of high availability. Brown or orange or amber means there's medium, and red means they're low. So you can use the tools to kind of position yourself as a dispatcher to know where to send your carrier to for their equipment type
Say.
if they're willing to run OTR over the road. Okay.
And another, can I inject something
You can go ahead. Go ahead. He wanted.
Okay. Another thing is, I'm not sure if I know you know this, Charles, but if you're running west, it's going to pay less. If you're running anywhere towards New York, it's going to pay more. So you want to set your truck up.
There you
You
go.
want to bring him down, put him in like a triangle type thing to
Yeah.
where he's coming. You're not going to make too much money coming west. Just where I don't care which trailer type you have, except for oversized load. or over-dimensional. But if you go on west, it's not going to pay that well. But you coming back east, heading toward anywhere towards New York or that northeast division, is going to pay more because of the toll roads and the crowdedness and all that type. A lot of guys don't like dealing with it, so that's why those loads pay a whole lot more.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Go ahead, Charles. My bad.
so you make a good point, Smooth. So since I'm on 123 load board, I'm going to show them exactly what you just said. That's called directional dispatching. So I'm going to go
Triangular.
down, I'm going to go down to market rates in 123 load board and show you what he just mentioned. So I'm going to select a flatbed, right, on here. Okay, you see what I just did? I selected flatbed, and he said, so coming from west Los Angeles going east towards New York for a flatbed, the carrier spot rate is on average $5,979, right? That's $2.13 a mile. If I flip that east, right, to west, there's a different value for the flatbed, $6,712, right? This is the market rate. Now, if you go north to south, if you pick a northern city like Detroit and go to a southern city like Jacksonville or something like that, you'll get those numbers too. So like Detroit, so you can go eastbound going westbound, westbound going eastbound to see if the numbers are higher. If you go northbound going south or southbound going north, you'll get to see the numbers. So we have the tools so that you can look at that and determine for your carrier's equipment type how to run your carrier. That's the point, right?
And that's not a triangular load. That's just from
This is
origin
just
to destination.
This is just order and destination. This is just one lane. But you still, what Smooth said, you still can position your carriers by putting them in states where you can get freight out of triangularly if you want, in a square if you want, in a circle if you want, however you want. You just want to be able to find them something coming out of there for their. The point you got to remember is what their equipment type is, how freight runs, and what directions pay well, and send them to areas they can get out of. If you could master that or at least get it down consistently, then you and your carrier will love you.
Yeah, because Massachusetts and Florida, they like really complicated and hard to get out of. They pay well going in, but coming back out, like you make little to nothing, or you have to deadhead out somewhere to get a better load.
Remember that word we just used, deadhead?
Uh-huh.
Smooth just said it. And remember I said earlier in the training, your carrier will educate you sometimes. Remember he just said Massachusetts and Florida is hard to get out of. It's pay well going into, but hard to go out. He's saying that he's speaking from experience. So you may get this carrier for the first time, but carriers can educate the dispatcher by telling you, hey man, in my experience, or he may not say it like that, but he'll say, yeah, it don't pay well going into or coming out of certain areas, but it pays well going in. So we just got to consider that. If you find a good paying load, I may mitigate that because if it covers my fuel getting out, I may take it. But otherwise, I don't want it because it pays well going in, but I'm just going to be paying for fuel coming out. So I'm wasting my time.
So I have a question to that thought right there.
Okay.
So the carrier that I just made that I met the other night, he was operating double trailers. I don't
Double
know if you
trailers. We got a metal carrier that does doubles.
well, he not. We just conversated,
Okay.
but he gave me some information, some insight. His one of his areas was like what you was talking about. His pain areas was that the fuel cost was eating him alive, although he was grossing over 10 a week with
but
his
he's pulling doubles. So he's pulling a lot more weight. So he's going to burn a lot more fuel.
to the tune of 2,500 a week.
Yeah, well, he's running. Right, Smooth? You understand what I'm saying? He's pulling doubles.
And he was going from right here in Florida, here in Bradenton to
He's doing 10,000 a
California.
week, but he's paying 2,500 in fuel. Smooth.
So
Yeah. What's up?
You hear that? He's.
I told you that speaker. I can barely hear him.
No, I'm saying you hear me though. I said he's doing 10,000 a week, but he's paying 2,500 in fuel. He's pulling doubles.
He's pretty heavy. He probably like damn near 80,000. But keep in mind, he gotta stay in the 80,000 pound bracket.
Yeah, the gross vehicle, no matter what, he still got to push GVWR within the
great.
regulations. Yeah.
There's another thing that I wanted to bring up. you have to watch the carriers that you deal with as well.
Right.
On a point of fact
Sure.
that you're like you could make money. It's all according to your carrier DOT numbers and how clean their DOT numbers. If they got a lot of violations and you put their information on a load board, they're not going to make that much money. On the point of fact is their DOT numbers is all messed up. They probably got a lot of violations. But if you have a company like a carrier with clean DOT numbers, you can make a whole lot more money for the exact same area, the exact same load, the exact same trailer type. A lot rely on those DOT numbers. So I would suggest you look your carrier up. If y'all come into agreement, look him up and see how clean his DOT numbers is. Because if they clean, you can make a lot of money with that guy.
Right.
If they dirty, you're not going to make that much money with them.
Right.
That's just business.
Right. MA, got your hand raised.
Yes. So let me collect my thoughts. You guys said that using Florida, for example, you can make a lot of money, but coming out, what does that mean coming out? Is it like as soon as you're there, you drop your load, that it's hard to find another one? Like, what are we referring to?
Right. So depending on the equipment type, usually drive-in, flatbed, or reefer, the rates, so you can get something coming out, it just won't pay as well as going. So loads going into Florida, historically, analytical data has shown that it pays more for, let's use the three examples of drive-in, flatbed, or reefer. It pays more to haul freight into Florida, especially the further down you go, like Orlando, Tampa, Miami, than it would to get something coming out of there. Now, you may have to strategically snatch maybe a water load from Nestle to make your way northbound to get to like Tallahassee or Jacksonville just to get something out of there. But historically, over time, and every carrier says this is a known fact, and just like Smooth just said, it pays well going in, and this is from experience. It's just not from me talking, right, and saying historical data, but it's from experience that it pays less coming out of there.
We used to have in Georgia, remember?
Right, we had the deadhead. What was it, Tifton? Like a little distribution center somewhere in Tifton.
Exactly.
Yeah, we used to have to when I used to dispatch for Smooth, we used to have to deadhead or drive empty. That's what deadhead means from your location. We had to deadhead out of Florida to Georgia. The closest major distribution hub in Georgia coming out of Florida is Tifton.
My other question is referring back to the old scenario you guys were talking about when I think he said he got stopped somewhere and woke you up at 3 a.m. What's you said you had to call I forgot the name, a monkey or something?
So he didn't get, so he did a delivery, right? And I booked a Coyote Logistics, that's the name of the brokerage that we booked the load for, Smooth for, and it went to a facility that required the carrier to cover the lumper. It wasn't included in the rate. The lumper fee wasn't included in the rate. The carrier had to pay the lumper. They didn't even accept, I think, no, the carrier had to get the broker to pay the lumper. They didn't accept the credit card or cash from the carrier.
Yeah,
it had to be.
It was only EFS.
Right,
They
only
had no
EFS.
checks.
Right, they didn't do no EFS checks, which is electronic filings or electronic funding checks. They wanted it directly paid from a code from the broker to cover the lumper. Otherwise, they would not have released the trailer of Smooth truck, his equipment. So I called the brokerage Coyote. They have a 24-hour customer service line and explained to them, hey, I got a carrier. Here's this MC. He is at a facility, one of your facilities that one of your brokers brokered to us, and we require a lumper to be paid. And they said, okay, what's the name of the facility? What's the tax ID of the facility? And what's the amount of the lumper? I told them all of that. This is 3 a.m. And they produced a code that I gave to Smooth. He gave them at the window, and the $147 lumper fee covered, and he got released. So when I used to dispatch, I was live during the normal 9 to 5 hours, but I was available. My phone was available 24/7. So if I got a call, I would answer the call, right? well, since I was asleep, my wife at that time, my wife woke me up 3 a.m. So obviously I'm gonna be asleep. But my carrier, I said, yeah, he's stuck. I used to drive, so I understand what that's like. So yeah, okay. Carlos,
Yes. How do you look up the carrier's information to see if he has a good record or not?
great question. One of the resources we have in our back office, right here in the tools and resources, is called Safer. Safer is uh, under the FMCSA. SAFER is an acronym. It stands for Safety and Fitness Electronic Record. That's the starting point for you new independent freight dispatchers to look for. You click SAFER. Your carrier, when you get under a dispatcher agreement with the carrier, they're going to give you on the profile their MC number, DOT number, or the name of the company. You
They,
just simply look them up.
aren't they just doing one number now? They don't do DOT and MC numbers. I think they just do MCs now.
They're trying to do away with the MC and just do DOTs and
Just do DOT.
put a hyphen at the end of it to say what type of authority you have now. Now that's supposed to be it's still flushing through the cycle right now. It hasn't completely.
Oh, it's a couple companies out here only seeing one number. That's what
Right.
Rung a bell.
Right. So you look up. So Carlos, you look up a company. I'm just gonna put an example in there: MC number or DOT number, and this is free information, right? Because the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, is the governing body that gives the authorities to brokers and carriers, right? This DOT number happens to be a broker, right? But you have one for carriers too, and you can look up their information. You can look up their licensing and insurance, see if their authority is active or not, all types of public data so that you can determine whether or not this is a good carrier. Okay? That's the first line of defense for you, the dispatcher. There are other lines of defense, but you got to pay for those lines, like Carrier 411 or e-carrier check, things like that. I have access to e-carrier check. I'll show you guys at another time. We got 8 minutes here. So any final, I don't want to hold Smooth on the phone. Any final questions for Smooth before I let him go?
I have a question for him.
Okay. And MA,
Um,
I'm assuming that's not your name. What's your name? I call you.
I don't know why it changed. It's Immaculata. I don't even know how to change it back.
Okay, I'm not going to even say all
It's
that.
Ima for short. Ima.
Okay, go ahead.
Smooth. So regarding what is something that you look for in dispatchers, if you're like working with a new dispatcher that you know they're new, they've never been to the game, what is something that you look for in them that you are confident that, okay, I know dispatcher is, I'm gonna work with him, he's new, but I can work with them because I know they're gonna bring me money, they're gonna do this. What do you look for as a carrier?
Did you hear that, Smooth?
No, not really. Go ahead.
What did you look for in a new dispatcher that you can say, I can work with this person, even though you know that they're new, but you see some qualities in them and some energy that you feel from them that you say, I'm still willing to work with them, even though you know that they're new. What are some of the qualities that you would look for?
Honestly, I had a couple of dispatchers come wanted to work with me. Honestly, I didn't want to waste the time with them. That's just me, though. It may be guys out there that be like, yeah, I'll give you, we can grow together, which is cool. But I like doing 8,000, 7,000, 10,000. The biggest load we did was what, 12K?
The biggest load we did was 12,000 for the week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got you 12,000.
It's just the mistakes. Now, say if, for instance, if that new dispatcher was apprentice under somebody that knew what they were doing, and then they left them in power, and then I had to, then cool. But me, myself, I really don't work with new guys. That's what. How long we been knowing each other, Charles?
Been knowing each other since it's been a while, about 5 or 6, about 7 years.
17, I think, because I had Louis Reed in 2017.
Yeah, and I started this in 2019. I met you in 22, about 6 years.
Yeah. So this is who I'm comfortable with, or another dispatcher that I'm comfortable. I really don't deal with new people because they're liable to make mistakes, which would cost me a lot of money.
Right. And so that's the point. He just said something. He's comfortable with me. So that's the point you want to get to as a dispatcher. You want to get you and your carrier comfortable, right? And that comes with time. You have to build up to that, right? You have to establish that relationship. And that comes with going through the experience of dispatching loads for them the way that the carrier wants to be done. That's where the carrier profile comes in at. You want to go ahead, Marquel.
So yes, is this the guy from the podcast that you was explaining to Ramel when you said that he been driving for a while, but then he was only grossing 5,000 for the week, and then when you got with him, you grossed him 12 for the week? Is this the same guy or a
No,
different guy?
that's Martin. That's Joe Martin Transport. That's a flatbed carrier out in Elk, Nevada. And now
Okay,
his driver, he's the carrier, he's the owner of the trucking company. His driver name was James, and
okay,
I ran him from Nevada to Fort Bragg, Carolina. That was a $7,600 load, and I brought him back out of there for 6,500. So that's like 13,000 for the week.
wow,
That was back during COVID. So that's
okay,
the driver that I was referring to back then. But see,
okay,
I wish today's numbers was like 2020 and
pre-COVID.
2019 because
Oh,
everybody be trying to dispatch, right?
Yo,
Right?
oh my gosh, that money was crazy
That money
back
was
then.
crazy.
It ain't like that no more. I mean, if you put in the work, I mean, it's still obtainable. You and your carrier just got to be eye to eye. And like I said before, if your carrier got some good DOT numbers, he ain't out there getting put out of service all the time, then you can make money with him. If he got messed up numbers, he can have a step deck trailer. He still won't make the money as a guy with clean DOT numbers.
Right.
okay, so
As
Charles,
soon
is
as
this
you put them in the computer, as soon as you put it in the computer, it's going to give you a rate automatically.
Right.
And plus, if you got good DOT numbers, you can negotiate more because those brokers don't want their load sitting over there on this side.
And I just said that earlier. I told the students that earlier. You can negotiate and leverage because the longer a load sits on a load board, the more you can negotiate because it's been sitting there for a while because carriers are not taking it at the rate that's posted. So go ahead, Marquel. What was you gonna say?
So is the safer, is it still the conditional scoring and the other terms that you had listed? Is it
It's more improved now. It's better than
okay?
that.
All right.
Yeah, the older version, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and conditional. Yeah, from years ago, it's better. Safer it's improved itself. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, we got 3 minutes. Smooth, thank you for your time, brother. I'm gonna let you
Man,
go.
no problem. Anytime, man. All right, I'll let y'all. Y'all stay blessed.
All right.
All right, you too, man. Be safe out there.
All right, man.
Peace,
Take care,
peace.
y'all.
Yep.
Bye.
Peace. So, real live carrier, and I don't even dispatch for him anymore, but we established a rapport so good that we still stay in communication. He knows, every time he call, hey, how's your wife doing? Tell your wife hi. And I say, hey, how's Niecy doing? And his wife name's Denise. So, and kids, matter of fact, he came to a cold storage for delivery in Suffolk, Virginia. For those of you who are familiar with the Hampton Roads area, I'm in Western Branch. Suffolk, Virginia is not that far from me. And he called me. He said, "Man, I'm in your hood, man. I'm in your spot. Where you at?" So I pulled up on him. He was in his reefer trailer, and we sat down, chopped it up, had lunch, and everything like that. So relationship, right? Now, it'll be great at some point when you do find a carrier that you build your relationship to up to that point because it can be lasting even after you dispatch for him. Like me, I'm not dispatching for him no more. Now he wants me to do it again because he's moving from a reefer trailer to flatbed. He called me earlier and I said, well, let me call you back when I have my training because I want the students to hear you as well while I look at your information, kind of kill two birds with one stone. So he's into flatbeds now, and oversized and overdimensional freight, which is a lot of money, but is also a lot of requirements. I'm familiar with it. So I was telling him I may consider doing that for you, Smooth, because I've been knowing you anyway. So I'll try to look out for you. And I may even look to you guys as a teaching tool to help me with that. You guys can learn about oversized and overdimensional freight and what that means if you're willing to do that. I'll share that with you while we and then I also consider too the money that I would make from dispatching for them, I will probably be willing to share with whoever wants to help with finding a load for that. So I don't have a problem with that. It's not a big deal. So, but yeah. Okay, guys, it's 8 o'clock. We normally do no more than 2 hours. Any final thoughts, any final questions for the guests? Hopefully you guys got a glimpse of what we do, what we offer. You scratching the surface. You barely scratched the surface. A lot of things you did not see, even though it's from a basics level. Like in the modules, the study stuff in the modules, we were just talking about it verbatim, right? So, but I do want to conclude to see if there's any final thoughts from the guests, any questions that you may have. Are you okay, Tanika and the gentleman who came on? I'm not sure if he's still here.
Thanks again, Charles.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Ellis, how you doing?
All right. I had a quick question. You said he's going from a reefer to a flatbed. He's just going standard flatbed, or is he doing like a RGN step? Which one? Which type of flatbed is he going?
He's doing both a regular skateboard and a step deck.
And a step deck. Okay.
Yep.
So he's gonna get 2 flatbed trailers.
He already has 3.
Oh, he got 3 flatbed trailers. Okay.
He already sold his reefer trailers, and he's done this before even calling me. He said, I did this before calling you, Charles. So just ask you if you want to, I said, let me think about it. So,
Charles,
yes.
2 questions. Anything about the Conestogas drive-in trailers, and also, do you have any content about lane development, acquiring lanes for carriers? Do you have any of that kind of content there?
Acquiring lanes for carriers involve looking for the loads on the load boards according to their profile. That's how you acquire the lane.
And
because all the lane is the pickup location to the delivery location. That's the lane. So, for example, Norfolk to, like we were talking about, Virginia to Maine, that is a lane. That is the Norfolk market to the Maine market. That is one lane, right? That lane may have multiple stops, or it may have just one pickup and one drop.
Okay.
Right. And then you mentioned Conestogas. If I were you as a new dispatcher, and this is just a suggestion, my advice. You can do what you want. It's your company. I would suggest focusing on starting with the 3 drive-ins, flatbeds, and reefers. All a Conestoga is a skirted flatbed or a skirted drive-in. That's all a Conestoga is. You just matter of fact, I'll show you what it is. I'm assuming you're asking Conestogas because you may have somebody who have one.
No, I don't. I've seen them on the road. I've seen several on I-75. My mom has some drivers that pulls up there to their facility unloading and stuff. But other than that, nah, I don't know anything about those.
So if you ever want to see a picture of anything, I go to Google, and then up here where it says images, I click that images, and I will change it to Google Images. So then you go Conestoga trailer, click that. And this is what a Conestoga looks like. It's just a skirted flatbed or drive-in. It's more flatbed because it's a flatbed with a skirt on it, right?
I see.
You just slide it back and forth, right? That's all it is. That's all a Conestoga is. It could be either in the flatbed category or the drive-in category. More so the flatbed because it's a flatbed. So instead of putting a tarp on it, you put the skirt on it and you drag it up to the carrier does to the front. So. But there are Conestoga loads. But again, as new dispatchers, get your feet wet, learning the basics first. And then if you want to pivot to that side, then you at least have a foundation. You can pivot any way you want, right? You can swing your pendulum to a specific niche or niche type of equipment. Box trucks, cargo vans, Conestogas, whatever you want to do. So, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's my advice. trying to save you a headache down the line, you know.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that for sure.
Because I bumped my head too many times to allow you guys to do it. Can you see the weariness in my aura? I'm tired, bumping my head. So, but I'm still willing to share the experiences so that you won't do that. You see what I'm saying? And the things that I tell you and suggest and advise to you, I do it from experience. But I'm saying, look, I don't think you want to do that because this is what's going to happen. I guarantee it is going to happen. So,
Mhm.
not probably, not maybe, it will happen. So, just think about this. Keep that in mind. And my students, I consider you guys family. So I try to do my best to give you value. Try to give you value. Okay. Any closing remarks? We good?
Hello, this is Tanika. I just wanted to thank you, and I'll be getting in touch with you soon.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you came on as a guest. Everyone says thank you to Tanika and I forget the gentleman's name. Was it something
Pedro.
Kedro, yeah. So thank you, Kedro, and whoever else is on here as a guest. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us and grace us with your presence to answer any inquiries you have about being an independent freight dispatcher. So thank you and much respect. Okay. Um, our next training session, live Zoom. Let's go to the calendar here. For our students will be uh Saturday, the 28th, which is the end of the month, at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And at any time I have a cancellation, I will send out an email and let you guys know. I may have an emergency I have to do, something that is important I have to address, and I may not have time to get to the trainings. I'll let you guys know beforehand when that happens. Okay. But typically, we usually have our trainings when we have them scheduled. Okay. All right. All right, guys. Great Wednesday evening. Hopefully, you guys will have a successful rest of your week. Mr. Ellis, I'm going to be getting with you later in the week. I don't know if you spoke to the rail guy again.
No, I was busy today. I'm helping somebody move all damn day. I'm gonna give him a call tomorrow. I
Okay.
want to call today,
Okay.
but I'm gonna give him a call tomorrow.
All right. No worries.
Yeah,
So just keep me in the loop, and I'll see what he got, what he talking about.
yeah, for sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, guys. So for the dispatcher guys, I will see you guys Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. If anything changes, I'll send out an email. Okay. All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening.